Welcome to the Thriving Tides podcast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Julianne. If you're an entrepreneur or busy individual looking for self-care ideas, you're in the right place.
And we can't wait to share our experiences with you.
So here we are. This is the first time that we're having a guest on Thriving Tides via Zoom. We are respecting the social distancing protocols and, here we are, but we're figuring it out. So that's really exciting. So I'm pleased to introduce Marsha Weeks that's here with us tonight. She's a fellow Islander, grew up here like I did. She's very proud to call PEI her home. And in what she does for work in her entrepreneur life is that she helps couples celebrate their weddings here in PEI. She makes it very special for them. She's a wedding officiant, and she also is a realtor. So she helps them find the home that they love or sell one and maybe change things up too. So as you can probably tell, celebrating important milestones is something that she really loves to help people with. She really likes to be a part of that. She also is a musician as a hobby. She likes to play the fiddle. We've got a couple sitting behind her there, which is really cool, and the piano too. And when she finds time among all of this as well, she really likes to spend time with her nephews and her niece. So thank you so much for being here, Marsha, and being our guinea pig of the technology setup. I think this is going to be fantastic. And I think Stephanie had a few words that she wanted to say too before we jumped in.
Yeah, this is actually a really exciting episode just because we've collaborated on so many different things. So Marsha, you did my wedding. You officiated my wedding to my husband. And I also did your logo. So it's kind of cool that we are always kind of intertwined. And so I was super excited because you were definitely one of the first ones. I'm we need to get Marsha on the podcast.
You're so sweet. I'm so proud of you two for doing this podcast. I am a watcher and a listener of this. I really look forward to the new episodes, and you guys do such a great job. So I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Well, why don't we dive in?
Yeah.
If we're all set.
Great.
We'd love to start with learning a little bit more about you. I know I, gave the overview in the intro, but there's a lot more to it. So I know the wedding officiant is what you've been doing longer than the real estate. That's a newer gig for you. Talk to us about how you got started in the weddings.
Well, I went to a school in Calgary. I did hotel and restaurant management. And so I was out in Calgary for, 8 or 10 years. And I decided to move back home to PEI. And being a wedding commissioner was something that I always dreamed of.
Mm-hmm.
I literally would spend my birthday money on wedding magazines when I was a kid. I always wanted to be part of the wedding world, but I had no, confidence. I had the application for almost 2 years before I filled it out. And it was such a big step for me. And I'm no one's going to hire me. Should I do this? And so I finally one day just filled out the application and sent it in. And I still was so nervous. But then someone called me up one day and said, could you officiate our wedding? And then it just really went from there. So that was since 2013. So I will be going into my 9th wedding season.
Wow,
that's amazing.
I've kind of officiated for over 500 couples in the last 9 seasons. And honestly, I couldn't imagine not being a wedding commissioner. It's not work to me. It's really part of who I am. And I'm not just saying that, it really is.
I was gonna say, you're such a natural at it. Even down to when you met with us and how personal you let us make every single touch and everything. And you made the process so easy considering I was just I don't know. What do you put in a wedding?
Yeah. You've done 500 of them. I'm only hopefully going to have one.
I like to think that I can capture kind of the essence of the couple. Every wedding's different. Every couple's different. Some people want to literally be married in 5 minutes. Some people don't know what they want. And some people want, to have a lot of people involved. And I just hope, that I can streamline it and make it personal and make it a day that, a ceremony that they'll remember. Steph, I remember I was so impressed with your wedding because I always remember there's always something, one or two things from each wedding that I may not remember necessarily like names, after 9 seasons, but I'll be like, oh, that was the couple that this happened. But I remember in yours, you had Lego as part of it was like luxury Lego theme.
Yeah, like classy Lego.
Yeah, classy Lego. And I was like, that is so great that they just made their ceremony and their wedding kind of so them. And you had the macrame behind us. And I also remember it was probably one of the hottest days of like literally the year.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
But
all my bridesmaids got like burnt to like shreds. It was awful. It was so bad.
No, it was so beautiful.
Yeah. No, it was such a special day, and you made it like that much more special and super professional through the whole entire thing. Like no regrets there at all. So
yeah.
Thank you. And I really love when people can make their ceremony their own and kind of capture who they are as a couple. It's so important. And those are the kind of things that you remember for years to come, not necessarily. You always remember kind of the things like the little hiccups and the special things that you did to include yourselves in the ceremony, and not necessarily like the things that you worry about before a wedding.
Yeah, no, that's so true.
Yeah.
Do you have any like tips for expecting brides and like how to prepare for getting their like wedding, like to talk to an officiant? Like what are some of the things that you like to talk to with like brides and grooms?
I like how you added the grooms in there after.
It's not just the brides,
or the brides and brides. Or
there is a lot of times where I don't meet the groom till like literally the day before the wedding at the rehearsal. But
fair.
I think probably going into your wedding, you there's a specific fit that should exist in a connect. Like I like to have a connection with the couples, and I think if you have a vision for your ceremony, like a lot of people are really, moving toward the really more laid back ceremony and kind of with the personal feel to it, and, not super starchy or formal. So I guess just sort of reaching out and seeing if your personalities mesh and, what kind of personality and dynamics that your officiant can bring to the ceremony. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but I think the ceremony of the wedding day is obviously the most important part. So yeah, I think just having a good connection and rapport with your officiant is great.
I was gonna say that is kind of the most important because that's when it actually happens.
Exactly. Otherwise, it's just a party, right?
Yeah. Which I'm okay with the party too, but at the same time, the whole point of the party, it's an expensive party if that's the case.
Absolutely.
I had like $1 for every time like a bride or a groom had said, like we just want like the shortest ceremony possible. We're so shy in front of other people. But then when they get up there and, things go by relatively quickly, and then they're glad that they did it, that they're glad that they had that kind of meaningful ceremony. And but it's always really nerve-wracking for people, especially if they've never spoken in public before, or they're really nervous in front of crowds, which is, of course, understandable.
Yeah, my poor husband, that was like his first time ever. And he doesn't like to speak in public. Good. Yeah, he doesn't like to speak in public at all. And he was like shaking, the poor little thing. Just love him. I have a question though, that just sparked up when you were talking. What's the longest ceremony that you've ever done?
I did have a few. There was one that was almost an hour and a half. That is like, in 500 weddings, that's one wedding. But there was a lot of things that they wanted to include, like special things, like special musical numbers and readings and kind of like little speeches. And I couldn't believe the time when I left, but it was really, beautiful, of course. Typically, a ceremony is about half an hour.
Yeah.
But an hour and a half was super long.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Absolutely. Hopefully it wasn't a hot day too.
Yeah.
We were inside, so it was good.
Okay. That helps. Temperature control. I'm thinking about you. Like I've run into you in the summers every now and then,
yes,
out our way. And your schedule in the summer can be insane. Like I know people get married here all year round, but obviously for those, you get a lot of people who come from away to get married here as well, right? So it can be jam-packed. how do you manage your schedule and like make it all fit and still survive?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, definitely Saturdays and Fridays, I can pretty well count on, because I always give a rehearsal to my couples just so they feel more comfortable on their wedding day. Yeah, so I don't even know what to say. Like, if the stars align, I could be in, around my area. Like, I could be at places like Clinton Hills, Green Isle Getaway, Stanley Bridge Resort. I could be in Rustico or Kensington, and they're all like relatively close in proximity. So if the times work out, I never say no to weddings. But in those cases, like, I do have to be super prepared, like, to have all my ceremonies and paperwork. Like, I've had nightmares before of, arriving at a ceremony without the proper paperwork or no ceremony, or like saying the wrong name. So I have to be really focused.
So it's not just the bride or groom that's worried about saying the wrong name. The officiant does too.
Exactly. Oh, I would be horrified. It's never happened to me yet, knock on wood. But yeah, I have to be super focused and like really fresh and like, very zoned in on what's happening. I mean, it sounds really pretentious, but I have had several Saturdays where I've had to get someone to drive me from ceremony to ceremony, because I just need them to drop me off at the door and then pick me up at the door, so I don't waste time parking or getting things out of cars or things like that.
Yeah.
So that made my life a lot easier for certain Saturdays. And like, I'm so fortunate to, of course, work with great vendors and venues. I can remember arriving, like being dropped off at the Hill at Clinton Hills, and like Mitch Cormier was doing the sound, the DJ sound, and he kind of had like my microphone, my clip-on ready, and he just like clipped it on. I felt like I was kind of like a celebrity, arriving and like, all this like sound, like, and have like Marsha. An entourage. Yeah. And then
she's here.
Yeah. And I mean, I've never been late to a wedding. But they're super like kind and helpful, because they know that my schedule, because I can do many ceremonies a day, my schedule is hectic. But I love every second of it. And actually I thrive when I'm super busy.
Oh man.
I love that. How many is the most weddings you've done in one day?
I think it's 7, if I remember correctly.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, wow. I know.
Yeah.
Well, there was one particular Saturday, and actually it did happen to be the Saturday. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when everyone wanted to get married on August 18th, 2018. So it was like 08/18/18.
Right.
And there always is a date like that every year that people gravitate toward. But it happened to be also the day that it was like torrential rain.
Oh,
I mean, no. So, but I had like, a couple from Quebec that wanted to get married at 8:00 in the morning. I had someone else at 10, and then it was like 1, 2, 4, 6. So it was a really interesting day, because there was some weddings that didn't have backup plans for rain, which made it only, those are memories that we all look back on and smile about and talk about now. But at the time it was really stressful for a lot of people.
I bet. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's cool.
That's the hardest part of planning a wedding, is like, you can have backups, but even then you don't know if you're going to need the backup. Like, we were stressing about rain, but we had to stress out about if people would be too hot. Apparently, like, you can never plan. Like, there's just nothing you can plan for with weddings almost.
Yeah. It's good thing you designed those like fan things, though.
Right. Oh, well, they don't really do anything. I don't know.
Oh, the fans. Anytime someone has a fan as like a favor, or it's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. As like a program, especially, because people usually tend to use the programs as fans too.
Yeah.
And might as well
especially also like to kind of swat away bugs if we're in the woods. Like,
never know what it might be used for.
Bug spray and my Google Maps are probably 2 things that I could not live without in the summertime.
Oh,
interesting.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. Very cool. Yeah, because I've been to a few weddings that you've officiated now too. And I love the personal touch that you bring. And I like the professionalism is huge. I think, yeah, you're flawless. You're so good.
Oh,
I'm sure in the background you're
well,
probably like, oh my goodness, like, what am
Imposter
I
syndrome.
doing? But
it's just like
Yeah.
when a wedding starts, like, you know, nothing happens until like 30 seconds before the time it's supposed to start. But there can only be kind of like one boss once it starts at 3:00. And I just kind of take control in a nice way and, you know, tell you go here, and it all happens.
Get it done.
Get it done. And yeah, and everyone's always really nervous, and the groomsmen always have to pee, always. Like
so I hear the groomsmen, not the bridesmaids. I like that.
No, the bridesmaids are always great, but the groomsmen, I don't know if it's nerves, but it's not even the groom, it's the groomsmen. And they're like, do I have time to pee? And it's like, no, go quick.
Like, do you actually need to pee?
That's hilarious.
I have started asking that in several situations, especially if I know like the washroom is like a far distance or there's only one. So I know there's going to be a lineup. Like those are the things I have to think about. So
that's so funny. Oh, I love that.
Oh, man.
So cool. And then, so when did you become a realtor? That's more recent.
Oh yeah. So July 2020, I became a realtor with Exit Realty PEI. Yeah, definitely something that was, I didn't plan that for a lot of years or anything. It wasn't something that I kind of was like, eventually I'm going to be a real estate agent. It's sort of kind of meshed with my life, and it was another way to work with people, but also, you know, use those entrepreneurial skills that I think I have, and to kind of balance out my weddings. And so that's what happened.
No, and I think it's perfect because you combined it so well. Like your tagline, it says it all.
Mm-hmm.
We said yes to the address.
Yeah. Like that's so great. Like it's just, I don't know, because it's true. Like you get married, and then when you get married, you're probably going to need a house. So might as well just, you know, do this.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
No, I was really pleased. And of course, I was so pleased that you were able to kind of craft that for me, and the logo part of it. You made it so easy. And I sent you some like really cryptic Pinteresty stuff, and then you came back with my logo. I'm like, exactly, that's what I was trying to say.
It was so cool because I've never done a barn pattern logo before, and it was so much fun because it's shapes, and I just love shapes. I'm a toddler. I love shapes.
I know all my shapes.
All my shapes. So like that was just really fun, and your color palette's like pretty awesome too, because it's a color palette that I don't usually work with either. So that was a lot of fun. So like, how did you decide to combine them? Like when you're thinking about your branding and how you're going to market the two collaterally, how did you?
Well, I was really worried about that. And because, you know, I didn't want to be like one of those Hallmark movies where like the innkeeper is also like the butcher, who's also the taxi driver, you know, who's also the doctor in town. Like I didn't want to be like a lot of different jobs, but, you know, I thought that maybe my, like, you know, being a marriage commissioner, and hopefully, you know, people that have met me and worked with me kind of know like my personality, and that I'm, you know, I try to be really real and authentically kind of like me. And I hope that my professionalism and my work like to date with marriage commissioner would kind of translate into, you know, that she would do a good job if she was your real estate agent. That's what I was hoping. And yeah, it's a lot easier to just kind of throw out the two titles and kind of put them together, and this is who I am, as opposed to kind of having two separate sort of identities. And that's sort of how it all came together. My weddings were scaling every year. I was getting more and more weddings, and which I loved. And I had always worked a full-time job, always. So what I would do in the summertime is use my work vacation to do weddings, because more and more PEI was becoming, and is, well, it's still becoming like a destination location for weddings. So often, well, most all the time, I have weddings from Ontario, Quebec, Australia, wherever.
Wow.
And it's just like going to Cuba to get married for us. They can come here on a Tuesday and get married.
Yes.
So like it wasn't just Fridays and Saturdays anymore or Sundays. It was like Tuesday mornings and Thursday afternoons. And so when I had used kind of all of my vacation in the summertime, I'm like, I don't know that I can continue kind of this at this level without sort of going, on my own and not having a full-time job, which is so scary.
Yes. Yeah. Very brave of you to make that decision. But if you're using all your vacation to work,
right,
and then you're working, right? Like that's just a recipe for burnout.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. And I kind of felt like it was heading toward that way. And my heart and my mind was always kind of with my weddings. And I don't know, I guess you probably both feel the same way. Like you get a real kind of energy and like satisfaction from working for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really had that. And I wanted to kind of expand on that. And I was trying to think like, what can I do that can work with people? And that can balance out, or kind of like, because weddings are really seasonal. What can I do? And then, someone told me like, you'd be a great real estate agent. And then it kind of, the idea got into my head for a couple of years. And eventually I just was like, I'm going to sign up for the course and see what happens. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Cause everything happens for a reason. Like it just probably fell into place. It's like, oh yeah, this is like the next natural step, if you will. And what a great market to start in. Like it's great.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So kind of, I was trying to be so systematic, being like, okay, as soon as I graduate, I'm going to take like this week to set up all of these things, like, website and social media, and like have these systems in place. But like literally the day that I got my license, I was like, I had to start doing real estate stuff, like actual work. And, so I felt, in July, very like overwhelmed, but in a great way. Like I was thriving.
That's awesome.
But I was looking at my computer at like 6 a.m. in the morning. And then, before I knew it, it was like 10 p.m. at night, and I was still working, but I loved every minute of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the saying, like, it's not really working if you're loving what you do.
Exactly. Yeah. And I felt that way. And, I guess I could honestly say, like, in my professional life, that I've never felt more content with my life than the way it is right now. So I feel like I found my two jobs and my two careers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really happy.
That's awesome.
That makes me like teary hearing you say that. Like that's what I want for everybody in the world, is to truly love what they do, whether it's, running their own business or working elsewhere, whatever, but to truly be like, wow, this is it. This is my jam. And you found it.
Yeah. And, like, I never thought that maybe I thought, well, maybe I'm just never going to be satisfied. Like maybe I'm always just going to want to go to the next thing. But I guess I just wasn't, I wasn't at that place yet. And when I got there, it was really, really, really exciting and satisfying for sure.
Yeah. That's amazing. We are the same person.
We're like mutated into combined persons right now.
Scary.
Oh man.
Scary.
So would you have like any advice for new home buyers or new home sellers if you're selling their house for the first time? I know it's probably a double question, but
I think the advice would be kind of to just really ask a lot of questions, and be really, do a lot of critical thinking, and really try to make sure like that the real estate agent that you're working with, whoever it is, please pick me, but whoever it is, like you want to have a connection with them, just the same as I was talking about with weddings. Like you really do, because this is such a monumental thing. You're either buying a house or selling a house. And I mean, you really want to be able to trust that person to have your kind of best interest at heart. so yeah, just even a conversation and, what's their plan for marketing? What's their plan for showings? What's, do they have any buyers interested if they're selling, or all those kind of things, it's just a matter of sitting down and having a conversation, just a casual conversation. And I think people are pretty good at kind of getting a vibe from people and whether you'd be a good fit. And yeah, I guess that's my suggestion.
That's awesome. Yeah, it really is an important relationship because it's a big investment. Like when we bought like our house, it was right. Unfortunately, you weren't a realtor yet because I would have totally worked with you. But when we were looking at our house, we had gotten a realtor. And he wanted us to buy like a really big house, and he wanted us to have like a bunch of rooms because he's like, oh, well, you guys are planning for your future, because we were engaged at this time. We didn't even get married yet. Oh. And he was pushing for us to get like a 5-bedroom house because if we want kids and to expand in. And I'm like, I get that, but we don't want kids and we're not planning for kids. Like if we want kids in the future, we'll get a new house. Like we're not, that's not what we want. And he wasn't listening, right? And he wasn't listening to like what our needs. And then we worked with another realtor who was actually listening to exactly what we wanted. And sure enough, he found us a house like right before the market exploded. So it was just like, that was like, chef's kiss. Like it was kind of nice. And it's so true. If I didn't have that relationship of like telling, no, this is, and like listening to your customer is just, or your client is like so important, especially when it comes to like what you're doing. And I feel like you're such a good listener when it came to like our wedding. I'm sure it still translates to real estate as well.
I would have a really hard time like not listening to someone, or like I would take that home with me at nighttime if I thought that I was pushing something onto someone, or if I was, if someone, like already I've had clients, and of course I have clients from Ontario and various areas of Canada who really want to move to PI because PI is the best place to live. Yeah. And I've already told several people on FaceTime, like, please don't buy this house because of specific reasons. Because I just wouldn't be able to consciously like go to sleep at night if I thought that I was impacting someone's life negatively. Like I couldn't handle that.
That's amazing.
So yeah, listening, asking lots of questions, and just, getting a great connection with your real estate agent is so important.
Absolutely. And I feel like you have a very strong intuition when it comes to like building a relationship with people too, right? So I think you would almost feel this certain like connection or energy or something for like getting them in the right space, whether it's for their wedding or for their home. There's just something about you that I'm picking up on there.
Yeah, I guess I have a lot of empathy for people, and I try to see I try to look like in what they're like in their shoes, what's their life like. And, I would want someone to do the same thing for me. So yeah, I guess I try to think about like all the stuff that they like to do. Like, do they have dogs? Do they need like land? Do they need, are they crafty? Do they need like a sewing room? Like all of those things. Like, it's not just, 3 bedrooms and 1.5 baths. It's like, what else can you like as part of your life can you use this house for? So I really do try to get, deep dive on the personal level, for what they're looking for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So you started real estate whenever COVID just like took over our summer. So I'm getting like, you didn't do many weddings this summer, right? You had still some.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did half of what I would normally do in a summer, but I still did like 60 weddings, which, is great. Lot. I mean, some of my fellow colleagues didn't, only had a handful, like some photographers that I know. And so I feel very fortunate in that respect. But it also kind of gave me an opportunity to kind of look at like, what does a normal day in the summer look for like everyone else? And like, maybe I even did say like to myself, I was like, how did I do 7 weddings on one day when like I'm doing one on the like the same Saturday, but a year later? I'm like, how did that really, how did I do that? But I mean, you just do what you have to do and you do it well. But yeah, it was certainly like a relaxing summer with weddings, but you know, still I did a lot of elopements and smaller weddings. So that was great.
Yeah, I guess you work with what you have, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Some people decided, nope, we are getting married this year. It's happening. And some people, I guess you probably have a full docket coming into 2021 summer, do you?
Well, I do. I kind of anticipate that maybe there will be some changes because a lot of kind of the out of province weddings sort of rescheduled for 2021. So I have been getting some emails being like, you know, I don't know what's going to happen in the summer. And I really feel so like it's out of everyone's control, but you have to really feel like something for those people that, you know, you're waiting kind of 2 years to have their special day. And anyway, it is what it is. You know, I really feel for them for sure.
Oh, 100. My best friend was supposed to get married this year, and she actually planned her wedding 4 times, 4 different dates, tried to make it work, but she's in Edmonton. So like even then it's even more impossible. And yeah, it's just crazy. And it's just so heartbreaking to like, she's not excited about her wedding anymore. And that makes me so sad because it's like, it's such a special day of like dedicating each other to each other, you know, and she doesn't even care about it anymore. And she was the wedding friend. I wasn't even the wedding friend. And it's just like,
yeah, like everyone should have that kind of, you know, all of the special moments that they've always dreamed about. Well, at least I did. You know, you want to have like, if you're a bride, you want to have like your dress and walking down the aisle, that kind of thing. Like, yeah, I really, really do feel bad. But having said that, a lot of people kind of, I think the word was pivoted to, like an elopement or a smaller wedding. And I don't think that those people are ever going to feel regret about that because, you know, a lot of my friends will say too, like there is something just so special about a small, intimate wedding that all weddings are beautiful, but there is something super special about that. And I think that the people that ended up getting married in a super small way really did feel that too. So at least they kind of have that edge on somebody that might have already got to have their huge wedding, right? So
that's true.
And they're probably like way richer now.
With all that savings. Oh my goodness.
So true.
And they can't travel, so they're not spending on trips. Like they have coin now.
So now they can call you and buy a house.
Yeah,
exactly. Buy a house.
If only the market wasn't, a struggle. Yeah. How are you? I'm curious to hear that because, you know, you're doing a lot of like FaceTime, what do you call them? Viewings? Like, what's the word? With people because they're out of province wanting to move here. And we're seeing a lot of that also comes with people who have bigger budgets because they, you know, have a house in a bigger city, costs more money. So it's easier for them to get into the market here, where there's a lot of people here who would love to buy a house, but are just like, I'm one of them, for instance, you know, like I can't keep up with the rising prices. So like, are you dealing with people here on the island much, or is it a lot of off island, a little bit of a mix?
It's a little bit of a mix. I would say like a lot of it's an off-island market at the moment. I mean, you're definitely right. Like first-time home buyers in PEI, or, you know, they're looking at a specific budget. And, you know, unfortunately, things that come up that are in the budget typically go so fast that sometimes it's hard to even kind of get an offer in. And I'm sure everyone's heard about like the stories where people are outbidding each other and houses are going for over list price and that kind of thing. And, you know, the off-island buyers, like they typically probably do have a bigger budget, but I do find, and maybe it's just my clients, like they're looking to come here to PEI, not for like a really huge lavish house, but they're kind of like selling, you know, their house in say Ontario and coming here because they want the PEI lifestyle. So, you know, they're going to sell their house for a good price, put some money in the bank and get something, you know, they're probably thinking like a $250,000 house is like a very reasonable price. and they're moving in and they're hoping, you know, to live that PEI life, and they feel safe here. They feel more relaxed and like that they can lead a slower pace of life. So
yeah, it's awesome. Well, similar to you, like I spent 10 years in Calgary, so I know what it's like to be in like the cities and the hubs, and it's busy, busy, busy. You come here, you could be pretty busy here too, but you also have an ocean no more than like 30 minutes from you, no matter where you are. And you know, like there's things that just make you stop and slow down because it is so beautiful here and there's so many wonderful people. So I really can't blame the ones who want to move here.
No, me neither. And I mean, like, I'm sure you two are the same, is that like, if COVID has taught me anything, it would be like to kind of slow down and smell the roses a little bit, and to like appreciate the things that are kind of right in front of you, and, you know, what do you need in life? And it's not necessarily like a huge house or a fancy car. Like,
no,
you know what I mean? Like you should appreciate like what you have. And so, I think there's a lot of people that are kind of like, I want to enjoy life and I'm just going to make it happen. So
exactly.
Yeah. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
What did you said earlier that you had a summer like regular people this year, kind of, right? You still did 60 weddings.
Well,
what did you do this summer that you loved that you normally don't get a chance to do?
So like, I'm literally ashamed to say this.
Excellent. Tell us.
So the only time that I am typically ever on a beach would be if I'm doing a wedding. So I went to the beach a couple of times this summer and just sat there.
Amazing.
And it was really awesome, you know. The other thing that I did, which I never thought that I would enjoy, is I kind of made a little deck. I refinished my deck and I put some furniture out there and I just sat on the deck. You know, sometimes I had my computer, sometimes I had a book, and I'm like, wow, this is how everyone else lives. No, I really enjoyed it. I also tried to keep flowers alive, which didn't totally pan out, but I did keep them alive for a longer period of time than I would normally do that. So I am aiming for 2021 to expand that once again.
That's amazing. I love that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Don't be so ashamed about the beach thing though, too. Cause I think we take it for granted, like having grown up here too, and been able to go to the beach, like as we were kids and all that kind of stuff. Cause I forget about it sometimes, or I just like, don't make it a priority to just go. It's something I can definitely still improve on.
For sure. Like I went with my nephews and my niece, and I was just sitting there and I was watching them kind of like, they were having so much fun with like the sand and the water. And I was like, wow, I remember what that was like. And it was really like a moment where I was like, oh, wow, you know, we should do this more often. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's amazing.
Hopefully this summer you'll get back to the beach.
Yeah.
Yes. Here's hoping.
Yes.
Or at least make it a point to at least have one really good beach day.
Yes.
Well, I always have a couple of weddings at Thunder Cove Beach at Teacup Rock. So I always say that's kind of like my beach excursion in the summer, because it's usually like a 15-minute walk from where you kind of enter the beach to get to Teacup Rock. So I usually typically give myself like an extra half an hour to kind of walk in the water on the way back.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Don't book another wedding right after that one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
So
you go.
You're hogging all the questions.
I know. I'm sorry. I was really excited.
So fun.
So what do you think your biggest struggle has been so far as an entrepreneur? Is it the time management? Is it trying to figure out all the moving parts? Or is it something else entirely different?
I would say it's been kind of trying to like make the best use of my time and kind of like, I am a chronic daydreamer. I have been my whole life. You know, I could sit at a desk and just kind of like be in another world. So it's really like focusing on what I'm doing. And I really had to set up a lot of systems and time blocking and that kind of thing so that I didn't miss anything. Because I don't want to miss, like, you know, missing a real estate deadline is like not a good thing. So, you know, making sure that I had all of these systems and automated things set up so that I never miss anything. And that I don't double book myself or anything like that. The other thing that I did this year, which I actually heard you, Julianne, say this in one of your talks, that you were talking about like prioritizing and like to do the things you want, you have to like give up stuff or to realize that you may have to outsource certain things. And for me, it was always about cleaning my house. Like, even if I had a day off and I went and did something, I would be thinking I should be home cleaning my house because I have no time to do this. And then I would just worry about it. And it was always on my mind. So I got a cleaning person, like a really great lady to come in, like, and she does such a good job. And honestly, like, that anxiety is just like gone. Like, I don't even think about it anymore. Like, my house is not even like, it doesn't even enter my brain. I just come home, my house is clean. And I think there's so much value in kind of realizing what stresses you out and like kind of sitting down and pinpointing it. And that was one of the things that really stressed me out. So doing that was a huge, huge thing for me. Yeah, also like just, implementing a lot of systems and definitely time blocking. And I did hear you, Julianne, in one of your speeches also talk about time blocking and the importance of that. Like, that's been a huge thing for me.
Yeah, those chunks, right?
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you for hiring a housekeeper because, oh my goodness, like,
I'm so jealous.
I thought, like, how can I hire a housekeeper? Yeah.
How can you not, though? Like, if that's causing you all this like mental load that you can't be fully present and like doing what you want to do, like,
it was awful. But, you know, when she came, and then I started thinking, I'm like, okay, so I don't have cable. I don't, like, you know, I'll cut down going out to the places I go out. And like, so really when I looked at it, it was just like basically a cable bill every month.
Yeah.
And I don't have cable. So I really, you know, I'm not saying that everyone should go out and run out and get a housekeeper. Like, you can't, but I'm just saying, like, if there's something that it's really giving you anxiety, like, you should really sit down and think about how you can kind of clear that anxiety, because you can get so much further ahead. Like, I'm doing so much more because I'm not worrying about that.
I say I'm probably making more money too. Like, it always goes back to like entrepreneurial self-care. What's the thing that you can get rid of that you don't actually want? Like, I love cleaning, so I couldn't get rid of that. Like, it's my like, I like to get into the zone and clean.
Yeah, it's therapeutic.
So special.
Therapeutic.
I'm not like that.
I will outsource other things. You know what I mean? Like, I am one of those people, like, I will probably get HelloFresh, or please sponsor us, HelloFresh. But like one of those boxes, because I can't pre-plan a meal, for example. Like, and some people do that as their, and it would save you more money because you could spend more time working on the thing that's actually making you money. So if anything, it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you just find what is that one thing for you, like you said, Marsha, which is really great, right? Like, some people would be like, no, don't take cleaning away from me. But there might be something you love doing that other people are like, oh, I can't believe you do that for yourself. Like,
I really like doing my own accounting, but it does take up a lot of time. But I can't really say that I could necessarily give that up right away. But maybe in the future that will be something that I'll have to offload onto someone else. But accounting, I would love to offload social media because I find that is so hard to keep up to.
It is.
It's like really a lot of work, and it's not that I don't enjoy posting, but I spend too much time analyzing what I'm saying. So it might take me 45 minutes to make an Instagram post. Yeah. And I put so much thought and love into the post, but then I have to do that the next day as well. Like, that takes a lot of time of your life.
Yeah. You could even like batch content and everything too. But at the same time, like, that's even hard in itself because then you have to dedicate one day. But if you have two things that you're running, you know, like if you have a wedding that day, you can't really just do time blocking necessarily for just social media. And would you even want to if it doesn't really light you up as well? So
yeah, I kind of started with like a platform to batch content, and I'm going to try that. And like you said, like, you know, with weddings, you know, I pretty much kind of know my schedule a long time in advance. But with real estate, I don't. You know, maybe a house comes on the market today and I have to kind of like spend the day touring around with a client. So, you know, time blocking goes only so far as, you know, my job allows it to, right? So
exactly. Yeah, especially with how fast things are going. It is true. You probably could get a call tomorrow.
Like
your phone could be ringing right now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Check. Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that earlier too, of like the weddings are so structured and you know exactly what's happening. How do you envision the two kind of commingling, I guess, once things are back to normal? I hate saying that. But you know, like, is that something you've been thinking about or trying to plan for?
Yeah. So, I mean, my weddings, like I'm booking into 2022 and 2023 at the moment.
Wow.
So, you know, obviously I'm committed to those times and dates, and so I will just have to make, you know, it work. And, you know, if it's a Saturday and I have a lot of weddings, you know, maybe my real estate showings are going to have to be like morning showings. And, you know, this is kind of my availability, which is, you know, I do have a lot of availability, I guess, 7 days a week, but just maybe not in wedding season as available for kind of showings, I guess. I really have to balance that, of course, but you know, I'm committed obviously to my couples, and I'd never not be at a wedding. So
yeah,
you know,
no, and you don't want it to be more stress for yourself. Like I'm sure you'll find your groove, or maybe there's like an assistant you could have for your real estate stuff in the summers that could, you know, there's so many different options. And I know you've got great mentors in that field as well. So they'll help you out. And yeah, man. And you need to like relax and go to the beach sometimes too. So
yeah, allegedly.
Yes, there's 7 days in the week, Marsha, but you don't have to work all of them, right?
Yes, I know. That is something that I'm working on.
Yeah. You could say that right back at me. And
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, wait, kettle black, or that's black true. Called kettle.
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah. Well, I just find like my best time is like 6 o'clock in the morning. Like I get up, I do my little morning routine thing, and then I'm on the computer. Like no one's usually up at that time, so my phone's not ringing, and I can get so much done.
Yeah.
And so I do usually do that 7 days a week, but I know that you need to kind of have like a work-life balance, just working on the life part of it.
As an entrepreneur, you get to design what that is.
Yep.
The beauty
You're
of
the
it.
boss.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I love that.
Self-care question?
Let's do it. She kind of was leading us there anyway.
I was going to say, I'm like, we're already kind of naturally progressing. So with all of the moving aspects of your business, and we have talked about how you do have quite a packed schedule, how do you put in self-care? And the most important question of today and Thriving Tides, what is self-care to you and what do you do?
So for me, I have actually, because of you two, and I've been listening like religiously to your podcast, I am very conscious of self-care now, where maybe I wasn't in other years. So one of the things that I love doing, and I've written this out in my journal, like I love playing my fiddle. I'm not a musician or a professional musician. Like I just do it for fun. Yeah. It gives me something that not a lot of other things do. So I have to make time for that. And whether that's like playing for 20 minutes or half an hour a day or something like that, it's just kind of like I can zone out into a different kind of world and play my fiddle. I do take time like for, to spend with my niece and nephews. one of the things that, I was worried with being, really busy is that I was going to miss out on kind of like the really important parts of like them growing up, because they're all really little.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm trying to make like a concerted effort, because time can go by so fast. You like see them 1 week and then it might be like 2 or 3 weeks later and they're already kind of have like new words and they're doing new things. So
yeah,
I really try to make an effort about that. I talk to my sister on the phone. That is really self-care. Like FaceTime, we talk like several times a week, and that's really self-care for me, like catching up with her and making sure she's doing good. We have like, there's probably no one that gets me more than she does. I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
The one thing that I really do have to work on, and I mean, I've been reading a lot about it, and obviously it's like a well-known thing, is I do have to move my body. And I have to start putting that into my day, because I mean, that's my physical health is like, it's really important. So I do have to make time for that. And yeah, I'm going to be working on that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Movement is one of those things that's really hard to do. It's for me too. I'm just like, but like, I'd rather do like the yoga and like, well, I guess that's movement too, but like more so like I'd rather journal as self-care instead of like,
like I can lost in like a book, or I'm like daydreaming and then I'm like, oh, it's too late, or I can't go outside, it's too cold, or blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. It's easy to make the excuses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sadly, you can't outsource moving your body.
I know. I have to.
Well, you could hire a person to
could hire someone to yell at you and tell you to do it.
I know. I'm so sensitive though. Like, I don't know that I would do well with like a trainer that was like, I need someone like a little bit softer.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. And just like find what works, right? I think sometimes like whether it's within our business or our self-care routines or whatever, we always say, it's so unique. So try a couple things. Who knows? You could daydream while you do your workout. Maybe you combine two things together.
I was considering that.
If you're just if you're going for a walk or something, that's a great time to daydream.
No, you're totally right about that. It's like in my book, like of my goals, like this is what's going to happen. So hopefully.
Awesome. No, we know you will. Look at all the other things you've accomplished. It's clear when you set your mind to something, Marsha, you make it happen.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we'd love to know, or we'd love for you to share where people can find you online, because I know they're all going to listen to this and be like, I need more Marsha in my life. Yeah. So tell us, like what are your social handles? Where do you spend the most time?
Yeah. So, I wanted to make sure that people could find me for whatever I can do for them. So I'm at marshaweeks.com, which takes you to all of my places. But yeah, I'm on Facebook with Marsha Weeks Officiant, or Marsha Weeks Realtor, and same with Instagram.
Awesome. That's great. Anything else you want to share before we say goodbye for now?
I will just really like a huge thank you for like chatting with me tonight. Like I feel so honored, because I do love the podcast. And that's kind of another self-care thing that I didn't mention, is that I love listening to podcasts, and yours is always on my playlist, and I'm like, I know them.
PEI famous.
Like superstar influencers. I'm like, yes, I know them.
Aw, you're so sweet. Thank you for the support.
I'm, like,
we really
blushing
appreciate it
right now.
I'm like, I married her.
Love it. Yes. That's so cool. A little shout out.
I love this so much.
And if I could take this opportunity, because I'm not sure that my dad will be able to figure out where YouTube or any of this stuff is, but if you're watching this, Dad, hi. Big shout out to my dad.
Aww. Hi, Marsha's dad. Aww.
Yeah.
He's a big inspiration for you, right?
He is. He's a farmer, and he's always kind of he's an entrepreneur as well. So him and I connect on that kind of entrepreneurial energy. Like I know he gets that same energy and satisfaction for working for himself. But what's kind of a funny story is, so my dad is 66 years old. He might be mad at me for saying that, but
Marsha
he just got a tablet like last year maybe, and he has his own Facebook account, which is amazing. So he's learning all about that. And then he called me up one day and he was like, you need to have more posts on your social media. My dad is saying my social media sucks. So then I kind of sat back and reflected on that. I was like, he is right. Like, I need to make more effort in social media. But I think it's really interesting that my dad was the one to point that out.
Right? Is he offering or?
Yeah, I was going to say.
I know.
He's looking for a side gig there, Dad?
Well, it's so funny because, I got a notification one evening. It was like 10 p.m. or something. And it was like, Byron Weeks is hosting a watch party. And I was like, what is a watch party? I was thinking is Dad like not realizing that he's like, because I had no idea what a watch party was.
Yeah.
And apparently he invited all these people to watch this thing and he had no idea what he was doing, but it was really entertaining for me.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, I know that your dad, Julianne, who I know as well, is like a huge inspiration in your life. And he's such a nice man.
He is. Yeah. Really lucky to have him.
For sure.
Yeah. He also not overly sure how to do all the technical stuff, but Mom helps him a little bit. I saw you on the computer.
Like, like if I can go on Facebook or if I can go on, he can too, right? So, I think it's great for them, and he knows now like more that's going on in the community, in the world than I do. He's like, did you see so-and-so's post? So
yeah, it keeps them connected, especially over the last year where there's been less, like going down to the local coffee shop or doing all the things, because you can't really do that as much, right? So
yeah,
exactly.
No,
oh, that's cool. That was a beautiful shout out to your dad.
So, yeah. Anyway.
No, that was great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I feel like I could talk to you all night.
I was going to say,
yeah. Yeah, it's really great to even chat with you. Like, we haven't seen each other in a while. And I know that, it's so important to have people that are actually excited to talk to you about like entrepreneurial stuff and like productivity and like get as excited as you do about it. Cause like not everyone cares like that I am researching CRMs or like the newest email client or whatever. So it's great to have people that you can like identify with. And so you guys are great.
Thank you. Well, you can geek out with us about that stuff anytime.
I was going to say anytime. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Marsha. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Thriving Tides. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
Follow us, Thriving Tides, on Facebook, Instagram, and now YouTube to stay connected. And remember, don't fight the rip currents.